California back into lockdown. The teachers' unions holding students hostage this fall. Cuomo's extreme quarantine rules. And what is anti-racism? Welcome, everybody, to the Buck Sexton Show. Great to have you here with me, as always. An honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to get to talk to you about everything happening across the country. We have a very clear declaration of intent, I think, from the teachers' unions, which we should always think of as the shock troops, if you will, of the Democrat Party. They are right out there and have been for a long time. They don't burn down buildings. They just hold the kids hostage going into this fall, saying that they're making demands of what they want. And this at a time when the whole country is trying to figure out, what exactly is going to happen here if we're now going to have these restrictions in place that are even preventative restrictions in some states that don't have very high COVID cases. We have extreme restrictions in other places. Who knows when those can end, because then you might have a surge in cases. There is just a panic out there right now. And schools are now on the front lines of the make sure Biden gets elected campaign. That's what's happening with the teachers' unions. I'll get into more of that. And what are their demands? What are the demands that they're putting out there, in case you were wondering if they really are acting like teachers' unions are acting like a Marxist terrorist group that has taken our schools hostage. And my friends, we are entering this phase now where everything about COVID, the economy, law enforcement, it's just all a big political fight. You will not have any good faith effort from Democrats to come into the center on these issues or to work with Republicans to make anything better. And of course, I don't think Republicans will go over to their side. They already have a little bit with some of this police reform stuff, but I also think they shouldn't go over to their side. I think the Democrats, obviously, are wrong on all this stuff. But they will double down. They will dig in. They're not going to move on any of this in the least. And then that brings me to what we're seeing in California. Now, remember, the narrative for the last week or so has been that California, that the states that are having a really rough time, really the last 2 weeks, Texas and Florida. You know, yesterday I had that guy from MSNBC, Texas and Florida have the dumbest leaders and they're so stupid and they're and then we have, sure enough, California now going back into a lockdown, stay-at-home orders now. California is saying, you know, you gotta respect our authority to tell you exactly what to do after weeks of protests. After weeks of protests that not only were allowed, but that Governor Newsom was encouraging. They were all pretending that this was fine. They want to lecture us all about public health. They want to allow the Democrat base of lunatics to mobilize in the streets. We're all so oppressed and police violence. All that stuff. And now, after the virus has reached high levels of cases in these states, they're telling us that they want to bring back all the old stuff of shutdown, lockdown, same thing. That's what they're trying to do. This is astonishing. Here's Governor Newsom saying himself, play clip 7.
Rather effective today, requiring all counties to close their indoor activities, their indoor operations in the following sectors: restaurants, wineries, tasting rooms, movie theaters, family entertainment centers, zoos and museums, card rooms, and the shuttering of all bars. This is in every county in the state of California, not just the counties that were on the monitoring list that we announced on July 1st. So this is a new statewide action effective today. Every every county in the state of California impacted by a requirement now to modify indoor operations and to expand opportunities for outdoor operations in these specific categories.
Now, to be fair and to be clear, they're moving back. They're not going all the way back to square one. You can still have some outdoor things that are allowed, but just wait. Just wait. See where this goes. See what ends up happening, especially if cases continue to be very high for a few more weeks. There's a problem with what we've been told the last few weeks about what's happening in the country with COVID-19. Texas and Florida have been the focus of all the criticism from the media. Why? Because they both have Republican governors, and they're considered to be full of enough red state people, even though Florida is not a red state, although we should probably all move there, my friends, and flip it like now. Make sure. Hint, hint. Let's all go. Let's all, I got an idea. You guys want Trump to win? Those of you that are thinking about Florida, producer Mark included, maybe it's time for us to head on down there, register, and make it happen. So they've been focused on Texas and Florida because Texas and Florida are able to be put on the Republican side of the equation. And I know that it's very imperfect. And now they're even saying, I've seen these polling that says that Democrats are thinking that Texas might even be a battleground state for them. And Biden's up 5 points. And I don't think that the Democrats are going to win Texas. But remember, if the Democrats win Texas, we're it's all over. So keep that in mind. California, though, is a state that has been sanctimonious in its we respect the science, we wear masks, we've been very slow to reopen. California was the place where they were shutting down beaches and they were chasing individual paddleboarders out on the ocean with nobody within hundreds of yards because of COVID-19. That's the state of California, run entirely by Democrats, dominated by Democrat voters. This is the liberal left-wing stronghold of America, really only rivaled by New York. And California has had an enormous spike in cases, and now they're shutting down. So if what we've been told recently was true, that it was because Republicans don't believe the science, right? This is what we're always saying. Republicans don't wear enough masks. You got a lot of mask wearing in California. You got all kinds of, everyone listens to Democrats there. They believe the science, all that stuff. Why is California in this condition right now then? Now, there is an answer to this that isn't really about the science entirely, which is they're always going to err on the side of more strict lockdown, more restrictions on economic activity. Because the Democrats, remember, not only are they going to have, do they have the incentive of beating Trump in the fall, they're also going to just keep pumping money through the system to people. And they're going to keep their social services going. They're going to do all these things while small businesses are going out of business, of course. And then they're going to make demands from the federal government, and they're going to start raising taxes on people that still have jobs and are being productive. Now, not to say that people without jobs, in millions of cases, it's no one's fault. I'm just saying they're going to go after whoever still has a job or whoever owns a home, raising their property taxes, and start redistributing wealth that way. That's their plan. So they're not worried about it. If everyone has to stay home, order in, groceries, and watch Netflix until Election Day, state of California is pretty much fine with that. That's what it seems like. And if it means that Donald Trump is guaranteed to lose the election, which I'm just going to say this, if you have major states on lockdown and an economy that has not been able to recover, it's going to be a miracle if Donald Trump wins. It's going to be a miracle. Now, some of you are probably already saying, yeah, Buck, but it was a miracle in 2016, wasn't it? True. But are we really going to expect two miracles in a row? You going to expect lightning to strike twice? I'm concerned. I think we all should be very, very concerned. But I just want to point to California as a place where I'm sure the mask shaming was at a maximum and has been for a long time. And you have a an entirely Democrat-controlled state legislature, a Democrat governor. They hate Trump. They're all, Dr. Fauci is the voice of sanity, reason, decency, and all the rest of it. And yet they're having to shut down now. I don't think they would shut down if they didn't have a high level of cases. They have had. I have friends in California who I know have gotten COVID in the last 30 days. So, I mean, I'm talking to people who are saying, yeah, they've had it. Most of them, I'll just have you know, minimal symptoms. Some, it's like the flu and they're in rough shape, but I don't know anybody in California who's gotten a really, really bad version of the disease. But this is now going to be the fight. Between now and Election Day, what you're going to see is the absolute politicization of every decision made in the name of public health to really be about defeating Trump. That between now and then, we've known this is coming for a while, but we've reached the tipping point. We're middle of July, the next 90 days, you're just going to see, nope, shut it down, keep it shut down, everyone be panicked. Don't worry. The cavalry is coming, America, they will tell you, in the form of Joe Biden. Let's just hope he knows which way to ride the horse. Hey, there I am. I showed up, and I'm wait, which way? Where am I? Yeah. Joe Biden's going to fix all of this. Joe Biden is the answer to our prayers. It's a terrifying thought, but that's what we're going to be told. And the viciousness, for years, Democrats were so nasty about Trump. I mean, really, really insidious in not just the way they talked about the president, but also their view of his supporters when things were great, not fighting any big wars, booming economy, and they still convince themselves fascism is coming to America. Trump has been given with this whole COVID pandemic an enormous open door. If he really was a fascist or somebody who wanted to be an authoritarian, an enormous open door. The only people who are walking through that door and being little petty tyrants are Democrats. No surprise. But they were saying that Trump was a fascist and a tyrant and all these horrible things when the country was doing so well and everything was pretty much on track. It wasn't perfect. Yeah, we got problems, of course, right? I'm not crazy. Remember all that stuff about the border and the border surge and how do we get control? Democrats were lying about that, of course. Oh, they're all fleeing because they need asylum. No, they just wanted to cheat the system and come into the country. But those were the challenges we were dealing with before. Now, you're looking at a death toll that's going to be between 150 and 200,000 come Election Day. And the Democrat left, instead of looking at what's going on around the whole world and the fact that there have been a lot of deaths from this disease, and it's a tragic and terrible circumstance that there is this pandemic that is a global phenomenon. Instead of saying this was a challenge that hit us, similar to a natural disaster like a massive earthquake or a tsunami or something like that, they're going to put the blame squarely on Trump's shoulders and Trump supporters. They're going to say, they're already convinced of this, that the reason people have died from COVID-19 is not that it is a highly infectious and very dangerous virus, or dangerous to people of a certain age with certain comorbidities. That's the real danger zone. But instead of viewing it that way, they're going to view it as every single death, every lost life from this disease can be attributed to Trump and the supporters that put him in office. That's the plan. Of course, that's unfair. It's immoral. It's crazy. But they don't care. This is what they're going to do. I'm telling you, I've predicted the Democrats' moves for months, and you know that. I've been telling you, wargaming out what their next plan is. I told you we'd get to lockdown 2.0. I've told you that they were going to say that there was no danger from the protests. And then when enough time passed, they're like, yeah, maybe there was a little bit of transmission but now we're way past that. Now the transmission's community spread. So who cares that the protests did, in fact, the mayor of Los Angeles has said that the protesters probably did, spread this. So let's all be very clear right now about what is coming our way and what we are facing. I can't believe we're being evicted from our home that we didn't sell. That's what Deborah said when she learned she was the victim of home title fraud, a crime that can cost you your home. Title fraud is not covered by insurance or identity theft services. The only trusted folks to protect you are at Home Title Lock. You see, your home's legal title's online where cyber thieves find it and forge your signature stating you sold your home to them. In Deborah's case, she didn't know she was a victim until the eviction notice arrived. Home Title Lock puts a virtual barrier around your home's title. If tampering is detected, they instantly mobilize to stop it. So go to HomeTitleLock.com and register your address to see if you're a victim and don't know it. Use code BUCK for 30 free days of protection. That's code BUCK at HomeTitleLock.com. Again, that's HomeTitleLock.com.
President Trump's total hostility towards science, evidence, facts, logic, reason. He is a showman. He is a reality TV star. He likes to try to bend reality to suit his own preferences. He had really made it clear that he was more interested in the optics than the facts when the virus first hit. And he kept saying, we have 15 cases, it'll be over soon. So you've got to begin and end with his total lack of leadership, his indifference toward what this virus has cost us, not only in lives, but in jobs and livelihoods. And then now, of course, he doesn't want to hear from our leading infectious disease experts like Dr. Fauci. He doesn't want to hold even the sham of the meetings that he used to hold to try to talk about it. He's hoping that it either goes away or it leaves our attention span so that he can get back to, pretending
enough
to be president.
Good God. Too much Hillary. Sorry about that, team. But here she is telling you could say, what happened? Remember, she was going to be president of the United States, everybody. And now she's all, Donald Trump doesn't have leadership. I should have been the leader. Oh, it's horrible. I know. It hurts your ears. It hurts my ears. But it's really the most true to the essence of Hillary impression you could ever do. It's just all off-putting and screechy and awful. But yes, that's right. She's telling you exactly what I said the Democrats will continue to say, which is that Donald Trump's lack of leadership has cost us lives and jobs. Meanwhile, let's look at the choices that the president made about the virus. He handed over the policy essentially to Birx and Fauci. So the not listening to the experts thing is just a lie. He shut down flights from China, which now everyone who looks at this admits, well, that was a good idea. It wasn't perfect. It didn't stop everything, obviously, but it was a good idea. And he was heavily criticized for that. And that was an early decision. They said we were going to run out of ventilators. He used the Defense Production Act. Bam, lots of ventilators, more ventilators than we need. Turns out ventilators aren't even a very good way to treat the disease. It's very much a last-ditch effort. But they said we're going to run out of PPE, Defense Production Act. Nope, we didn't run out of PPE. And then they said that Trump was going to be a tyrant by telling states what to do. No, he said the CDC's guidance is as follows. It's up to states when they reopen. What do they? Oh, because he said that this was going to go away, or he was hopeful about hydroxychloroquine. Once again, we see that liberals talk as though Trump has made catastrophic decisions, when really, and this has been their problem, this has been their psychosis all along, he has said things that upset them, which they take to be catastrophic, but which had no meaning. Doesn't mean anything when the president says, hopefully it's going to go away. Okay, that was then. And then he took then we saw what was happening. I mean, the president doesn't know. Fauci was saying it was no big deal too. I mean, they're just hoping that you don't ever look and do the research and figure out what a bunch of liars the libs are.
I think it is a fair point to raise as to whether or not, if he loses, he's going to go quietly or not. And we have to be ready for that. But
I mean, come on. This woman wanted to be president of the United States. She's supposed to be serious. Hello? Here's Hillary Clinton saying that Trump, if he loses, may not peacefully leave the White House. These people are insane. This is not reasonable or rational at all. They said that he was a fascist. He was an authoritarian. People were making all these allusions to the Third Reich when Trump won in 2016, and you have a pandemic where he could be an absolute iron-fisted, because look at what people are doing in different states, Democrat governors and even some Republican governors these days. But no, Trump has said, okay, we're gonna work on this. We're gonna work with the private sector. We're gonna have committees and talk to different states and give them funding and work with CDC. Nothing fascistic about it. In fact, if anything, he might have been a little bit too much of a soft touch on dealing with these different issues. He might have benefited from being a little bit more hardline in his approach to, for example, the speed of reopen or whatever the specific dispute may be. But they haven't, the Democrats haven't recalibrated any of the talking points. They haven't changed any of their initial set of hysterical analyses. And Hillary is just another example of this with her, he may not leave the... What? You could say this is without evidence. That's one of the Democrats' favorite snide little phrases. What evidence is there at all? There's zero. And so why do they say this? Why do they do this? Well, because it goes to that part of the liberal brain that has been so polluted with anti-Trump propaganda that there's nothing that they can say about him that is too extreme to believe. Remember, they've called him a traitor for years now. Without evidence, call him a traitor, betrayed his country, such a bad guy. What are the horrible things that Trump has done in office? I love asking liberals this. And they'll always turn to some, remember what he said about the Charlottesville? And it's like, that's a lie. Stop lying. He didn't say the neo-Nazis were good. I've read the transcript dozens of times now. It's obvious what he said. He clarified it. That's a lie. But that's one of their first go-to, because libs are used to arguing from this cheap virtue position all the time of, I'm the good person and they're the bad person, so it doesn't matter what the actual argument or issue is. I'm a supporter of BLM and they are not. Therefore, I'm a better human being than those Republicans. This is what they do with everything all the time. It's never about the issue. It's always about they're just superior. Their side is so smart. That's always an amazing one to me, too. Right, their side is so smart. Meanwhile, if you're dependent on the state, if you're effectively a ward of the state, you vote Democrat. And if you're an ultra-elite billionaire, chances are you will also be a Democrat. There's a wide swath of ideological proclivities and of individual situations that the Democrat Party encompasses. And what it doesn't include is people that see things for what they are, just want to live their lives, make as many decisions for themselves as they can, and just be left the heck alone. That's the kryptonite to liberalism, which is, of course, the worst word ever for it because they're anti-liberal. But conservatives, not only have we ceded institutions, and this is a major complaint of mine, and I complain about it in the hopes that this will just catch on more and we'll think about this more, and my friends in conservative media. I think we need a better name even for ourselves sometimes, or better shorthand phrases than just calling ourselves conservatives. I'm okay with right wing. I don't see what the problem is with that, but we need better language to use in these debates. We need a better term for what is the word that brings together BLM activists and Antifa lunatics and statue toppling, mediocre PhD students. Like what brings them all together? Yeah, the left, but that's very broad. We need better terms. Liberal is a misnomer, an intentional misnomer. The same way that Black Lives Matter is the name of the group, so that if you challenge the group's policy positions, there's the implication of racial animus, because are you saying you don't agree that Black Lives Matter? I mean, it's a cheap trick, but it works, right? Do you support Black Lives Matter? You better say yes to that, right? Even though, of course, Black Lives Matter, but are we talking about the group or are we talking about the phrase? This is how the left argues. Same thing they do with, do you believe in climate change? Of course I believe in climate change. Climate's always changing. Oh, no. Do I think that we should put morons like AOC in charge of reordering trillions of dollars of the economy and putting endless government commissions and bureaucrats in control of every aspect of your life, down to the minutia of the light bulbs in your house, what you're eating, how you deal with your waste? No, I do not agree with that. Right. So we have the same problem with calling them liberals. They are anti-liberal. But to be constantly talking about the liberals' assault on liberty creates a cognitive dissonance, just the language we use. And this really matters. You go back and read Orwell's essays on politics in the English language, and he knew that this is a critical part of the battle of ideas. What words do we have to use? Why are they always trying to force us to say undocumented? Undocumented is so easy, right? There's no law breaking there. Let's just give them some documents. Illegal alien sounds like somebody that shouldn't be doing what they're doing. It's illegal, and an alien is something foreign. But no, undocumented. Let's just give them some documents, right? You see endless examples of this. But Hillary. There's nothing that can be said by Hillary or any of the Democrats that will be considered beyond the pale about this president. They will go to absolute extremes, and they will lie right to your face, right to America's face about all of this. Think about what they've been willing to say when the country was doing well. And now the country's in trouble. It's not the end. I mean, if Democrats win, maybe, but we will get through this. But the ferocity that has built up in the leftist mind from years now of what they view as having to suffer under Trump, this is a major issue. This is a major concern we're all going to have to deal with. The psychosis dam is breaking. They're going to come at us with so much. And people that you thought were reasonable, who were in the media before, people that you thought were maybe willing to be fair-minded sometimes, are just going to sound like the most extreme HuffPost, do as I say or you're a racist ideologue imaginable. You're going to see this happening all over the place, and it's going to be very disconcerting to anybody who hopes for a better future for this country. Oh, and you're going to have people weighing in like Susan Rice on why Trump is such a bad guy, because now we're being told at least that Susan Rice may become Joe Biden's vice president. Based on what? Susan Rice, and I guess we've reached this point too in politics where it's just all about the narrative that can be forced upon people. It's not really about accomplishment or ability or leadership, certainly not for the Democrats. And look, I got a lot of nasty words for Republicans these days too. Republicans are asleep at the wheel, not getting it done. Where is the Republican Party? How much different would the country really be right now if Republicans didn't exist? It's worth asking the question. I mean the Republican Party, not people who are conservative in their ideology, but how different would the country be if the Republican Party is like, yeah, we're just going to vote present? It's kind of what they're doing. They're just showing up, voting present. So you're going to have people like Susan Rice who are just repeating the most mindless talking points. But if you hear it enough, maybe for you and me, it doesn't have any effect. For a lot of people who are frustrated, who are scared, who don't know what the future holds, given what the country's going through right now, they hear enough of this and they're going to think, maybe we just need something else. How bad can Joe Biden really be? The guy's been in politics for longer than I've been alive. How bad can this really be? Well, pretty bad, but here's Susan Rice. Play 4.
He should respect the science and respect the experts. Stop assailing people like Tony Fauci. Put them in the lead. The reality is that this is not a pandemic that we can wish away. President Trump was cheerleading the reopening of the economy. It proved to be deadly premature. And that's why we're seeing in the South and the West, some of the first states to reopen, this extraordinary resurgence. We cannot do as the President Trump is doing and play politics with and be willing to sacrifice the lives of our children and their teachers. So we need to get the testing ramped up even further. We need to get the contact tracing sorted out. We need to restore some of the restrictions that were put in place early on and lifted prematurely, as California has just done.
Everything she says here, let's think through for a second. Okay? This is moronic. More testing would do what exactly? We're testing more than we've ever done before. And we're finding out we're catching about 10% of the actual cases that are new every day. So we're going to do 10 times as much testing. People are getting sick all over the, getting this disease all over the place in California and Texas and Arizona and Florida. Recently, you know how many deaths were in Florida with, 15,000 cases in a day or whatever it was? 30. Or I think it was 34. This is still a manageable situation. But what she tells us is listen to the science. That's a stupid slogan. What does the science tell us? Testing, testing, testing. This is meaningless. The disease is spreading. You could have testing all over the place, and we do, and people will still get the disease because it is at widespread levels. It's all over the country. It's all over the world. Yeah, we'd know a little bit more. We'd have a little more data on where some of the hot spots were. Guess what? We already know where the hot spots are. Testing is not a cure. They act like testing is a vaccination. Oh, just get enough people tested and everything's going to be fine. No. And then the tracing thing, that she even says that's laughable. You're going to trace this? Right now, a lot of people are waiting. I have a friend who just got tested and waited a week for results. So unless we're going to get everybody to have 15-minute tests, how are we ever going to have a tracing system? The only way a tracing system was going to work is if the virus level went down to effectively 0, and then it was at such low levels of spread, and you would have to have people in place and ready to go and be efficient and be pretty lucky to trace it and to try to contain it before it's already spread all over the place. There's no tracing this. So when they say things like, he needs to listen to the science, more testing, and we need to get our tracing squared away. Bull crap. This is just noise. This is meaningless. But this is what you're just going to hear more and more. Think it through. Okay, we're gonna do what? What is testing going to do for us beyond what we're already testing? I hear about this all the time. We're already testing. We're seeing record levels of testing. If we doubled the testing, what would that mean? We'd have more tests done. It's just they have no real answers on this. Oh, and then more restrictions. The policy, test and trace, all of this was never about shut down the country until the virus is gone. That was never offered to us. That was never the bargain. We were told it was about hospital capacity. And now you have people who keep coming forward and say, listen to the science. There are too many cases. Locked down again. Okay, you go into restrictions, tell people to stay home, no indoor activities. But the virus is still out there. When you start doing things again, the virus will return to a level of spread. And we cannot have a functioning society that keeps locking down for a virus that kills less than 0.1% of people who get it. Which, when you look at the real numbers, eventually, it's probably going to be, 0.1, maybe 0.3 or 4% fatality rate. You can't keep locking down America over this. But they pretend like they have answers. These people are, they're shameless demagogues, and they're ruining the country right now. They're ruining it.
And when you test, you create cases. So we've created cases. I can tell you some countries, they test when somebody walks into a hospital sick or walks into maybe a doctor's office, but usually a hospital. That's the testing they do, so they don't have cases, whereas we do. We have all of these cases, so, it's a double-edged sword. At the same time, we have the lowest mortality, or just about the lowest mortality in the world. We're doing a great job. We're doing very well with vaccines, and we're doing very, very well with therapeutics. And I think we're going to have some very good information coming out soon. But we have the best and certainly the biggest, by far the biggest testing program anywhere in the world.
We do have the biggest testing program, and we still have all this criticism from people about how there's not enough. There's never enough testing. There's never going to be enough testing. This is the way, because this is, it's like this theoretical. How do you ever get to the place where there's enough testing? Well, you're never there. So let's just complain about it constantly. Look, some of what Trump said there is a little off by the facts, but he's right on the broad substance. But yeah, no, we don't have the lowest mortality in the world compared to some smaller countries, New Zealand and Japan. Now, Japan's not a small country, but there are countries out there that have done better than us when it comes to per capita mortality against this virus. But what he's referring to is that compared to the societies that are of comparable size, complexity, diversity, international travel hub, etc., to the United States, you're looking at large Western European countries, and you have the U.S. beating Italy, Spain, the UK, every large European country on a per capita basis, except for Germany. France, better than France. So, it's not like America is the one place that's been hit really hard by this, but that is the lie the Democrats lean into and just will not stop telling. And now this is going to turn into a giant battle over schools.